This video is how to do the analysis and graph for your factors affecting reaction rates lab. So you should have already watched the videos on the lab experiment itself and collected your data with the reaction times. So if I scroll down to my analysis, the first thing you have to do is make a Google Sheet. So go to your drive, open a new sheet up. You're going to put the following headings here into your spreadsheet. Your data has the mixture number and the times. Volumes for A and C are going to come from the procedure. So right here, for mixture 1, solution A has a volume of 20, solution C has a volume of 20. When I get to mixture 2, solution A, the volume is 15 because it was 5 of water added, so it's 15 of A, and C is 20. So here in 3, we've got 10 of A, 20 of C. For 4, we've got 5 of A, 20 of C, and then C starts to change and A stays the same. So you have to make your sheet that will look something like this with those headings, and you can type in the volumes and the times. Okay, so this is just my data, my sample data. So this will not necessarily match your data. All right, so then it says on the lab that you need to calculate the concentration of A and C. So these columns you're going to have to put in based on a calculation. So let me talk about that on a new one here. Okay, so with concentration, we're taking an initial one and we are diluting it. So we need to use this equation, if you remember this from when we talked about solutions, okay? Because the moles will be equal, we're just changing the volume by adding more water. That's what diluting is. So you're going to have to do this for A and C. A has an initial concentration of 0.2, and that's in the top of the lab sheet. C has an initial concentration of 0.1. All right, so each time we're manipulating, we're just taking a different volume of this concentrated solution. So this part for A, let's put this in as my C1, and this is what changes every time. All right, this is our unknown, this C2, this is what we're solving for. And V2, we're having the same total volume every time. It was 20 milliliters. Like even when we diluted it, we added, let's say in the mixture 2, 15 milliliters of A, we added 5 of water to equal 20. So this, of our unknown that we're solving for, that is our diluted solution, we always have 20 milliliters of it. All right, so we're just changing that, the volume of the concentrated one each time to solve for C2. So our equation itself will rearrange to C2 equals C1 V1 over V2. V2 is always 20, right? V1 is what we're changing, and C1 is either going to be 0.2 when we're talking about A, or 0.1 when we're talking about C. Now, what's cool is in sheets, like I could do all these calculations and I could type it in my calculator, type it in to sheets, but sheets will do it for you. So I'd like to show you that. So I'm just going to type the concentration of A at the start was 0.2, right? We had 20 milliliters of it. Okay, so when we dilute it to 15, so we're going to type in equals. That's how sheets knows to do a calculation. And, right, we're doing that C1, so 0.2 times whatever volume of it divided by 20. So I'm going to do parentheses, 0.2, and then I do the asterisk for times, and then I'm going to select this one. I'm not going to type in 15, I'm just, because this is the volume, right, for each time. And then I'm going to hit the other parentheses and then divide it by 20. If I hit enter, and I'm going to ignore this for a second because I want to talk about this, it does my calculation for me. Now, if I go back and I click on that, right, here's my equation. Sheets will do something really cool. If you hover over the little square in the bottom right corner, your cursor changes. When it does that, you can drag down. And Sheets realizes that instead of B3 for all your calculations, as you go down one, it's going to go to that corresponding volume. So B4 in this case, B5, B6, etc. Okay, so those are all my calculations. So now I'm going to do the same for C. So C is 0.1 to start. So then I'm going to do equals 0.1 parentheses, yep, times, I'm going to click here, right, for that volume, parentheses, divided by 20. All right, so these first four, they don't change, right, which should be obvious, right? And then here's when I dilute it, what happens to the concentration, right? It gets less and less. That makes sense. Okay, so now that we've got our data table, we can make our first graph. So our first graph is going to be concentration of A versus time. So I'm just going to take these concentrations of A and these times and put them in a new table to graph. This is just mixtures 1 through 4. 5, 6, and 7, A didn't change. So we're just looking at A changing, which was mixtures 1 through 4. So I'm going to make a new heading. X is going to be time, so I'm going to put that on the left. Y is going to be concentration of A, moles per liter. Okay, and then I'm going to fill these in. So these are my times. And these were typed in, not calculated, so I can just cut and paste. These are not quite so easy. I'm going to type them in, actually. I've got 0.2, 0.15, 0.1, and 0.05. Okay. So now I want to graph this, so I'm going to highlight all of it. All right, I'm going to insert a chart, so you can do that right here on the bar, the little menu bar here, if you see this icon, insert chart, or you can always go up to insert and then chart. And what's great about Sheets kind of figures out what you want to do, and if they don't, let's double check everything. Your chart type should be a scatter chart, so it's just going to plot the points. Your x-axis should be time, right? And you can kind of make sure the points look like they make sense, and that's what you collected. And then the series is the y-axis, and this is going to be your concentration of A, and you can kind of see if those match too. There's a title already there. There's labels on your axes. If not, here's where you'd put that, or if you want to change them. If I go to Customize, Chart and Axis Titles, so you can manipulate your chart title on the top. I can just type it in here, edit it. My horizontal would be my X. I could edit that there, or add it, or vertical would be right here. Some other things you might want to look at or do is I'm noticing my time, right, goes just below 50. I want it to start at 0. It's nice to kind of have that reference point. So on my horizontal axis, I'm going to do my minimum value at 0. You could change your max if you wanted to. Maybe I want my max to be 200. Okay, it's a little bit better to look at, kind of better reference. I can do the same with my vertical. I'm gonna go up to 0.25 so I can see that a little better. So my max is going to be 0.25 because it already starts at 0. See, and that looks a little better to me. It's a little clearer. Okay, so that's our chart. And so now I'm just going to put it into my lab report. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to copy it and then go to my lab report and I'm going to paste it right here. All right, I'm going to make it maybe a little smaller. It's a little better. All right, and there's my chart, which is pretty cool. Also, if you X out of that little like menu thing and you're like, oh shoot, I forgot to edit this. If you click on it and the 3 little dots, you can edit your chart there. All right, you can also move it on your sheet if it's in your way. Okay, so you're going to do the same kind of thing for for question 2. Another graph, but now you're going to look at the concentration of C. Make sure you're collecting data to graph just from mixtures 1, 5, 6, and 7. So the same process. All right, part 2, you're going to do temperature versus time for your part 2. So I added this data in here. So that's right here without a catalyst. Time, temp, same thing we just did. Make a graph of that. Part 3, now you're comparing the catalyst that you collected for this data with no catalyst from part 2. So for part 3, you have to make a graph that has 2 data sets on it. And so I want to show you how to do that. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, so I've got, here's my part 2 and here's my part 3. So I'm going to make a new table for all of this. So I'm going to make, time is still going to be on the X, but my temperatures are going to be on my Y. So I'm going to do temp of no catalyst, and degrees Celsius, and then I'm going to do temp with the catalyst. Oops. All right, so my times, I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to add these below it. And then my no catalyst temperatures, I'm going to put right here. And then these temperatures go with my catalyst, so they start here. Okay, so now to graph this, I'm going to, highlighting it, the whole thing might mess it up. So I'm just going to click on one spot and I'm going to insert my chart. And of course, I already did this, so it looks like it's done. Let me start like it will look like for yours. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way so I can see my data. All right, so make sure it's on a scatter chart. We're going to add our x-axis. So I'm going to click on this, and you're probably going to have nothing here. Click this little waffle guy, select data range. Let's go away. All right, and then I can move this out of my way, and I'm just going to highlight what I need. So I'm going to highlight all my times. Okay, and then I'm going to add my series. Remember, this is Y, so I add series, click this little waffle, select data range, and I'm going to do all of my no catalyst. And then I'm going to add another series, click the little waffle, and now I'm going to add my catalyst. Notice I'm highlighting the whole thing. Okay, so now if I look up here, so it color-coded which data set. Look at my catalyst. Took less time than no catalyst. So you're going to also need to add your axes labels. You can change your minimum and maximum values. You can add more lines. You can adjust your title if you'd like, and then copy and paste this into your lab report. So that's how you're going to do your analysis in terms of your data and your graphs. Make sure you answer all the questions and you summarize everything based on the aim in your conclusion.